Welcome to Devotions with Al. Today I want to talk to you about continuing in the grace of God. Acts chapter 13 verse 43 says, "Now when the congregation had broken up, and many of the Jews and devout proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who speaking to them," listen to these words, "persuaded them to continue in the grace of God." NIV puts it this way: he urged them to continue to rely on the grace of God. As believers, we've come to the knowledge as well as the understanding of the grace of God. We are saved by grace and grace alone. We couldn't earn right standing with God. Trying to make ourselves more presentable for God is actually laughable when you consider that He sees and knows all. Only He has the ability to know the heart of mankind. He is all-seeing and all-knowing. And because He is holy and totally other and without sin, any attempt to present ourselves as cleaned up without His provision of atoning sacrifice is a farce. Even though we have initially stepped into the waters of grace and received forgiveness of sin, there's so much more depth to the grace of God to be explored and to be comprehended. It is truly by His grace and His grace alone that we are standing free with eternal life with Him as our future. Sadly, we tend to revert back to pre-saved days and try to clean up our acts without availing the grace of God. Sometimes we think we have to get ourselves together morally before presenting our need for cleansing to Jesus. We have forgotten it is nothing but the grace of God that saves us from our sin, that also keeps us. Oh, we do a pretty good job of ridding ourselves of certain behaviors by trying to abstain from them, but the inward work is the work of grace that has the power to transform us within, that ultimately affects our outward actions. This grace is unmerited favor, but let's not forget it is also a power as well. Titus 2:11 says, "For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation to all men." And this is what it does, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly and righteously and godly in this present age. So what helps us to live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present age? It is the grace of God. The Apostle Paul also said in 1 Corinthians 15, he says, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. And His grace towards me was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, he says, but the grace of God which was with me. So may God bless your day as you walk in His grace.